Hey guys, how are you doing? Very well. Just a quick memo. If you can hear a weird noise, my hot water tank slash heater is just turned on and it's a little bit fucked up. We got it fixed a little while ago, but now it's making noise again, so that's fantastic for me. But yeah, in today's video, I am going to do something that I thought I had done, but I haven't done, which I'm so surprised at. What is wrong with me? I am so sorry. I've let everyone down. But yeah, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the different styles of tattooing. Just a nice little simple video like that. I have written down a list of all the different styles that I could think of. I may have missed one or two out, I don't know. I hope not. I don't think I have. But within every style there's like little subcategories. The different categories or the different styles of tattoos nowadays, it's all over the place. You get artists that will mix styles together. You'll get artists that, you know, really excel in one style and they have their own style within that style, if that makes any sense. So like say a traditional artist, you have an artist that does traditional but they've, you know, made it their own. Like, it's kind of hard nowadays to figure out what style is what when it comes to a lot of tattoos. Obviously you have the main favourites, but there is definitely a lot of artists now that are just breaking all the rules and saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what I like, and I love it. But I thought I'd make this video to help any sort of newbies in the tattoo world or anyone kind of struggling to figure out what kind of style they want a tattoo in. This video may help you if you're trying to find a tattoo artist. I'm going to talk about what you really need to look for when it comes to looking for a tattoo artist in a certain style, so you need to sort of keep your eye out for these kind of elements. I thought this would be a fun and different video to do. There is so much noise going on at the minute. There's something going on outside. What is that noise? I don't know. Next door are being annoying. My tank that's literally here is making so much noise. I apologise. Hopefully my loud voice can kind of talk over it, but I am using a microphone and it picks up everything. Okay, I've moved over here so I can put in some pictures here. So the main characteristics or the things you need to look out for when looking for a tattoo artist that does traditional is very bold, clean, smooth line work. Like, line work is super important when it comes to traditional tattoos. Another characteristic of traditional tattoos is high saturation. So what I mean by that is when the colours are just so bold, so pigmented. You don't want any patchiness. You need solid colour. Like, that is what I find the most amazing about traditional tattoos personally, when they're so saturated and the colours are just so bold and vibrant. This also goes for, you know, black and grey traditional. I'll talk about that in a moment. A traditional tattoo also needs to be readable. So you'll notice most traditional tattoos will be, you know, quite a nice size, like palm size or hand size, and it's just not overcomplicated with traditional tattoos. There's not too much detail as opposed to, say, Realism or NeoTraditional. There's just like, it's simple but it just looks so nice. The most popular kind of traditional tattoos you will find are in colour, but I would say over the past like, I don't know, like 5-10 years or so, there has been an increase. Like, there's always been sort of black and grey traditional tattoos, but I would say there has been an increase in black work, black and grey traditional tattoos, and that's fine. Either way, I'm a fan. Like, I got my first ever black and grey black work traditional tattoo at the Brussels Tattoo Convention, and I'm in love. Like, I am so in love. So yeah, either way, it looks amazing. A portrait tattoo for a traditional tattoo. I'm gonna say tattoo so many times in this video, oh my god. But yeah, if you look at a portrait tattoo for a traditional tattoo, you'll notice that there isn't much detail, there isn't much definition within the portrait. It's very, you know, simple. I wouldn't say it's cartoon-like, but it's not like a realistic portrait. Nowadays with traditional tattoos, you can have any colour you can think of. I have very colourful traditional tattoos, especially like on this arm, and then on my leg I have bright colours on my leg. But way back when traditional tattoos sort of become a thing, there wasn't that many colours. So there was like reds, greens, browns, maybe the odd blue, but now there is so many options, so many choices when it comes to colours. You can have neons, you can have pastel, oh, you name it, you can have it within a traditional tattoo. Some people will stick to the traditional colours of like red, green, brown, yellow. There is tattoo artists nowadays taking you know, the traditional techniques with the bold line work and the highly saturated colours, and they are, you know, making like kawaii tattoos. So I have a couple of kawaii inspired tattoos, or like what I'd also like to call like bubblegum inspired tattoos, just like really girly, kawaii and fun. So I've got a alien tattoo that has like the traditional elements, because you've got the really thick bold line work there, but it's very highly saturated. I've also got a cinema inspired tattoo, which is really fun colours, but again you've got those traditional elements there. So there's so many ways you can do traditional nowadays, but just look out for the line work and bold colours. So let's talk about realism. With realism tattoos there isn't much line work, because if you look at stuff, you know, in your everyday life, like, you know, for example me, I do not have an outline around me. So if you have heavy black outlines, or if you rely on a lot of outlines within realism tattoos, it just doesn't look right. It does not look like a realistic portrait or a rose or whatever you have in the realism style. With realism also you have a lot more of a diverse colour palette, and what I mean by that is when you do realism you need multiple tones of one colour. So say if you do a rose tattoo and it's red, you need a pink, you need a dark red, you need a light red, you need maybe even an orange in there, because you have to get so much depth and dimension within that tattoo. So you need multiple colours to make that tattoo look realistic. Unlike a traditional tattoo where you need, you know, the one red or maybe two reds to make a rose tattoo, you need multiple colours. So realism tattoos are a lot more complicated in the colour selection. Realism relies heavily on shading and highlights. You'll notice with a realistic portrait tattoo that there'll be really bright whites and really dark darks, and that's really what's, you know, makes the tattoo look dimensional and more 3D. If you don't have that, the realistic tattoo sucks. It looks really flat. You want to make a realistic tattoo look as 3D as possible, which is kind of hard. So if an artist can pull it off, they are beyond talented in my opinion. Realistic tattoos are both popular in colour and black and grey. Like there is no, you know, one that is more popular than the other. There is artists that specialise in one or the other, or both. The next one I want to talk about is neo-traditional. Now in my opinion, neo-traditional is a mixture of traditional and realism. So it's got more detail than traditional tattoos, but it's not as intense as a realism tattoo. Neo-traditional tattoos have a mixture of line work, so they'll have, you know, big bold line work like a traditional tattoo, but they'll have little fine details here and there like a realistic tattoo also. With neo-traditional, the thing that I notice the most is colour gradation. So you'll see a neo-traditional tattoo and it will, you know, like the colours are seamless. So because it's more detailed than a traditional tattoo, you do need more colours than, you know, a traditional tattoo has. So like I was saying, for realism you'll have like 5 different reds to get that depth. It'll be kind of the same for neo-traditional but not as complicated, but sometimes you'll notice within neo-traditional tattoos that there is this seamless gradient effect between the colours and it's so smooth. You can get this through traditional also. I find that neo-traditional tattoo artists are so talented when it comes to mixing colours together and having a seamless colour mixture. So say for a portrait tattoo for a woman's face or whatever, you'll notice like the shadow or the contour or the skin colour is darker like here, but then it seamlessly blends out, compared to traditional where a woman portrait will have maybe blush or, you know, contour or whatever, but it's more of like a patch. It's just like a red patch like up around the eyes and it doesn't really blend out too much, but with neo-traditional it does. I personally see more colour neo-traditional than I do black and grey. It might be because of the artists that I follow, but yeah, I definitely see more colour neo-traditional than black and grey. But again, it could just be the people that I'm following. I don't know. The next style I want to talk about is Japanese. In my opinion, Japanese is a mixture of traditional and neo-traditional. It gets a bit complicated. Japanese is very, very heavily inspired by Oriental things. You know, like Japanese things. So you'll have like dragons, koi fish, geisha girls. I don't really talk about Japanese tattoos on my channel that much because it's, in my opinion, a whole new world. It's not a style I would personally lean towards either. Doesn't mean I like hate it or anything, but it's not something I would get personally. Japanese style tattoos rely on line work and saturation just as traditional tattoos do. They come in colour, which I would say is the most popular way to get a Japanese tattoo, but they definitely come in black and grey also. You'll see within Japanese tattoos also a mixture. So you can get like a koi fish kind of tattoo that will be like orange, and then the waves around it will be black, so a person will have like quite a black arm. Japanese is definitely very creative, and there's like, I don't know, you can just do so much with it. So the next one I want to talk about is New School, and New School, in my opinion, doesn't get talked about enough, especially from, you know, people like me that do tattoo videos. I feel like New School kind of gets swept under the rug. It's not the most popular style among people. Obviously people get it, and there is very talented artists out there that specialise in New School. But yeah, for the most part, it's not really raved about. So New School is a very, very exaggerated style. So everything looks very cartoony. If you have a portrait tattoo, the eyes will be really big, or the lips will be very big, and then everything else is kind of out of proportion. Good line work and good saturation and depth. Old school tattoos rely on looking quite 3D, so artists rely on, you know, dimension and depth and, you know, getting those good contrasts in there. You're mainly seeing New School tattoos in colour. I personally think they look amazing in colour, especially if an artist gets a really good colour palette down. Ooh, looks so good. But you can get them in black and grey also, but I definitely personally lean towards the colour side of New School. I just think they look so fun. The next style I'm going to talk about is biomechanical. I can't say that, it's a bit of a mouthful. But yeah, biomechanical isn't, I would say, the most popular style anymore. It definitely had a heyday or a popular moment a few years ago. And what biomechanical is, in case you don't know, is when someone gets a tattoo of machinery parts. So it could be from like a car, a bike, a machine, an airplane, I don't know. And it kind of looks like it's in the skin, and there's like a skin rip. You can get other forms of it, but for the most part, the most popular way to do it is when it looks like someone has it underneath their skin and the skin has ripped and it's exposing this like mechanical side of them or whatever. I personally find that biomechanical looks like New School and Realism mixed together. So it can be quite cartoony and exaggerated, but it can also look quite realistic. It depends which artist you go to and what style you like it in. Biomechanical really relies on depth and making it look 3D. If a biomechanical tattoo looks flat and doesn't have any dimension to it, it looks awful. It does not look well done at all. It's a bit of a fail, honestly. But if you find an artist that can really nail it and make that tattoo look very 3D and make it look like it's popping out of the skin or it's a part of the skin, they look awesome. You can get biomechanical in colour and black and grey. I've seen a equal amount of both. I've never seen, you know, colour be more popular or black and grey be more popular. I feel like it's an even thing. Line work isn't super needed, but it kind of is at the same time to, you know, have a definition between each mechanical part. So if you look at an engine of a car or a machine or whatever, I mean, it's not my world. I don't really look at machine parts, but you definitely need, you know, a line to say which mechanical part is which. Otherwise it looks messy and muddy, and as the tattoo ages, it won't look so good. So you definitely need a bit of line work here and there to define the tattoo. The next style I want to talk about is trash polka. Polka, I never know how to say it. Trash polka is a very, very artistic style, and you definitely have to have an eye for it or a taste for it. It's not to everyone's taste. But it is just like artsy abstractness, and it's messy, and there is sometimes like an actual drawing within it, or sometimes it's just lines and like brush strokes and dots. They're mainly in black and red, but trash polka, whatever, relies on saturation, and that's about it really. It needs to be clean, but because the style is messy, it sometimes doesn't look like it's a clean tattoo, but you definitely need a bit of definition in there. Otherwise it gets really, really muddy, and it's just like, I really don't understand what's going on here. Okay, the next style I'm going to talk about is watercolor. Watercolor tattoos are what I would like to call wishy-washy. So they look like ink blobs or ink splashes or paint splashes, or maybe, Lauren, they look like watercolor splashes, like the style is named, duh. But yeah, watercolor really does just look like someone has got a watercolor painting or a watercolor brush or watercolor paint and kind of just dabbed all over your skin, so there's splashes everywhere. Sometimes you'll have a watercolor element to a tattoo, and then there'll be like a tattoo over it, so you'll have like a splash and then there'll be a black work tattoo over it or whatever. Or you can get artists that actually make things out of watercolor splashes. So there is this tattoo artist, Milky Tadoodles, I don't know how to say her username, but I'll flag up some of her work here, and as you can see, it's like she uses watercolor, but she's done like animals and things in the watercolor style. Watercolor definitely relies on saturated color. You can get pastel colors, you can get very, very bold, neon, vibrant watercolor tattoos. But yeah, watercolor tattoos do look very, very pretty, and they can look so artsy and just gorgeous, you know. I've not really seen many black and grey watercolor tattoos. I normally do see colour ones, but it doesn't mean you can't get black and grey ones. But you'll mainly see really bright watercolor tattoos. The next art I'm going to talk about is geometric. Now, geometric tattoos are normally line work, to be honest, for the most part, or maybe a little bit of dot work here and there, but they're normally tattoos just made out of shapes. So you'll get tattoos that are made out of like triangles, squares, hexagons, pentagons, all of that fun stuff. I don't know all the shapes. But they're a really nice style, and when they're done well, they look amazing. So look for an artist that is very good with line work and making shapes, because there is nothing worse than looking at a geometric tattoo and the triangles just look like Doritos, you know. They're not completely triangles, they're a little bit misshapen here and there, and then it just ruins the effect of how the geometric tattoo looks. So look for an artist that is good with line work and can, you know, do a shape. The next art I want to talk about is black work. Now, black work is a very, 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 very broad tattoo style. You can get so much within black work. So my interpretation of a black work tattoo is basically any tattoo that is solid black. So you have tribal, which you could really put in its own little category, Polynesian, Celtic, oh god, what else is that? You know, like mandalas and, you know, black work sleeve. So you get people that black out the whole of their arm. That's black work as well. There's been a somewhat new style of tattooing. It's not really new, but like it's become more popular over the past few years, and that is ignorant style, which is where a tattoo artist kind of does tattoos to look kind of bad or trashy. It's really good. They have a nice charm to them, honestly. So yeah, basically anything that is solid black is a black work tattoo. There's obviously subcategories, like I was saying, you know, with like tribal and stuff like that, but I thought I'd put them all into this like black work territory. The main thing you need to look for with black work tattoos is solid black and clean lines. So you don't want a tattoo artist that does, you know, black work tattoos and there is no saturation, so the black is very patchy here and there and wishy-washy. And you want to make sure like the outside of the tattoo is very clean, so there's no like jaggedy edges. And if you're getting like a tribal tattoo or mandala tattoo, you've got to make sure the line work in that is solid, otherwise again it just looks very messy. Oh, there is a lot to it, but I love black work tattoos. I think they look awesome when they are done correctly. The next style, we'll be at the end soon. Kind of. No, we've got a few more to go. The next style I want to talk about is blast over. And this kind of is in the same category as black work, but I thought I would take a little second to talk about a blast over tattoo, just in case you're not familiar with it or you've never heard of it before and you've heard of people talking about it. You're thinking, well, that sounds like a cover-up. It kind of is. What a blast over tattoo is when someone has a tattoo, so say my sleeve here, what they'll do is they'll have another tattoo put on top of it. And it's not a cover-up, because when you get a cover-up, you want that existing tattoo to disappear. You don't want to see it anymore. With a blast over, you kind of like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to put another tattoo on top of a tattoo for whatever reason. Then mainly in a black work style. Yeah, for the most part, it's a black work style. And I love them. I don't know if I would ever do one myself. Well, I do eventually want to get this sleeve either reworked or covered up or changed to something else. And I'd probably either have to do a very, very heavy cover up, or blast over in some way. I saw this sleeve a while ago that I love it so much. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but there's this artist, I can't remember who, but basically what they did is they did like a blast over / cover up, and they coloured in most of the arm but left patches, and what the patches were flowers, so you could see the existing tattoo underneath, but it was like in a flower thing. I'm not really explaining this very well, but yeah, there's a lot you can do with that, and cover-ups can be in any style that I've mentioned and will mention. For the most part, an artist may ask you to laser off some of the old tattoo, but if it's like a small one or if it's easily coverable, you might be lucky enough to avoid getting laser. Okay, whew. The next style I want to talk about is script, and like black work, script is a very broad thing. You can do script in many ways. You can just have a simple text, you know, in like Arial or Times New Roman or whatever script you like that you use on Word, and you can have that tattooed on you nice and simple, you know, with black ink. Or you can go all out and have really artistic, creative script in colour or black and grey or in black work. Like, the possibilities are literally endless. When I first started getting tattooed, I literally thought, you know, script tattoos were like the one that I have in my inner arm here. This is quite an old tattoo now. It says, in order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. I don't know what script this is, but I found it on Word and I liked it because it was cursive, but not too cursive where you can't read it. I wanted to be able to read it because sometimes with script tattoos, they're very cursive. Is it cursive? You know when like it's really like all over the place and like this, and it's kind of unreadable to me anyway. But so yeah, I wanted it to be readable, but now like there is artists out there that specialise in really creative script work. Okay, the next style I want to talk about, which is in my opinion a whole other thing, and that is stick and poke, hand poke. But yeah, stick and poke, or doing a tattoo by hand, so you're not using a machine, is the oldest way you can do a tattoo. Like, this is how tattooing began thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. People were using, I don't know, rose thorns, crushed up beetles, God knows what they were using, to be honest. They were using all sorts. But that's how tattooing began, and there's still artists today that practice that method with hand poke. The one that I can think of to hand right now who is very talented is Grace Neutral. She does hand poke tattoos where she'll take a needle and she'll just, you know, poke a tattoo into your skin. And there is people that do it, I don't know the technical term, it may still be called stick and poke, I don't know, but there will be people, I talked about this in my tattoo etiquette video on Corinne Leah. If you've seen that, you'll know. If not, what's that? But there it is, another way of doing it where someone will tattoo you with a stick. So there'll be a long stick and there'll be a needle at the stick, and then they'll have another bit of wood or whatever, and they'll bash on that, and then they'll do it like that. So there's that way as well. So there's a couple of ways of doing that. I personally feel like stick and poke, hand poke tattoos are a whole other thing to other tattoos. So machine done tattoos, like I feel like they're in a separate category. So you've got like machine done tattoos, stick and poke tattoos, and then I'd also class like henna tattoos to be in the same kind of topic, I would say, when it comes to tattoos. Even though henna tattoos are not permanent, they are, in my opinion, still very artistic, creative. There is a lot of history to them. So yeah, I like to keep things, like I'm quite well, I'm not really an organised person, but I feel like dividing them like that is an easy way to manage things and talk about things. With stick and poke tattoos, the designs are endless. You can do whatever you want with a stick and poke tattoo. It does take a little bit longer than a tattoo would with a machine. It's just like a whole new experience. I definitely want to experience getting a stick and poke tattoo from a proper artist one day in my lifetime. For the most part, you'll see stick and poke tattoos done with black ink, but you can get colour as well. You know, an artist might feel a little bit creative, a little bit fruity, and do a little bit of colour, but for the most part, you'll see it in black ink. Okay, the next style I want to talk about is single needle tattoos. I have definitely talked about single needle tattoos in the past, but a single needle tattoo is basically a tattoo done with a single needle. They have very fine lines, lots of little details as well. They are very pretty and they're very dainty, and you can get them in colour, black and grey and black work. And yeah, there is honestly so much you can do with single needle tattoos. I personally don't have like the biggest of issue with single needle tattoos, it just depends what you do with them. They do have a habit of like blurring out or blowing out. What happens with tattoos when they heal is the lines do get a little bit thicker. It's just the way it works. It's just the way the body heals tattoos. So a single needle tattoo never looks very single needle as you see on Instagram. So if you follow any single needle tattoo artists on Instagram, you'll notice like when they do a fresh tattoo, the lines are very, very fine, but when they heal, the lines do blur out and become a little bit thicker. Not too much, but over time they will get thicker and thicker and thicker. That's just the way it is. That it's just to do with the way your body ages and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't have like an ultimate problem with single needle tattoos, you know, even though I've talked about them a few times in a few videos. Okay, that is every tattoo style that I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope this has been kind of helpful to anyone that was not too sure about different tattoo styles, or weren't sure what you were looking for, or you had seen a tattoo style before and you really didn't know what the name was, but now because I flagged up pictures and talked about it a little bit, it's kind of helped you and you're like, ah, that's the style I want. So hopefully this has helped in some way. I'd love to know what your favourite tattoo style is and what is maybe your least favourite tattoo style. Everyone has sort of, you know, personal preferences, so don't be offended if you read through the comments and someone says, oh, I hate traditional or whatever, because that's my favourite. But I know traditional isn't for everyone. That's understandable. People watching this may find micro tattoos to be their favourite. That's fine. At the end of the day, it's all personal preference. Like, we can't all like the same thing and we can't all love the same things. So yeah, I hope you guys are all doing very well, and until my next video, bye.